Dad, you promised you wouldn't burn the burgers this year. I laughed while flipping the meat on the grill. That happened one time, Lily. One time too many, Sophia said from behind me. I turned and smiled at her. For a second, everything felt perfect again. Sophia stood on the back porch wearing the blue dress I bought her last Christmas, and Lily sat at the patio table covered in birthday decorations and melted ice cream. I remember thinking I was lucky. The kind of lucky that made a man drive home after long work days with a smile on his face because he knew someone was waiting for him. Ryan walked outside carrying drinks. Your neighbors probably hate these birthday parties. They hate your singing more, I said. Lily pointed at Ryan. Please don't sing again, Uncle Ryan. Ryan pressed a hand against his chest dramatically. That hurts. Sophia laughed softly, but something about it felt forced. I noticed Ryan looking at her for half a second too long. It was subtle enough that I ignored it immediately. Ryan had been my best friend since college. Sophia was my wife. Distrust never even crossed my mind. Dad, Lily whispered, did you get my surprise gift yet? Maybe. You forgot it, didn't you? I grinned. Absolutely not. Sophia crossed her arms. You forgot it. I didn't forget it. I strategically left it inside the car. Ryan burst out laughing. That's the saddest recovery I've ever heard. Lily jumped from her chair. Go get it. After dinner, I said. No, she protested. Now. Sophia walked closer and kissed my cheek. Go make the birthday girl happy. That kiss stayed in my head for the rest of the night. Not because it felt special, because later I realized it meant nothing. Dinner passed with laughter, music, and stupid jokes. Ryan told embarrassing stories about our college years, while Lily laughed so hard she nearly dropped her soda. You actually fell into a fountain? Lily asked. Ryan pointed at me. Your dad tried to impress girls. I was pushed, I argued. You cried, Ryan replied. I did not cry. Sophia shook her head while smiling. Honestly, Ethan, I can't believe that part. I watched her laugh with Ryan again. Their eyes met for a second longer than normal. Then Sophia looked away quickly. A strange feeling hit me. Small, sharp, gone within seconds. I ignored it because happy people ignore warning signs. That's what I did best. Later that evening, Daniel stopped by briefly to drop off Lily's present. My older brother hated parties, so he stayed near the doorway the entire time. You surviving? He asked quietly. Barely, I joked. Daniel glanced toward Sophia and Ryan talking near the kitchen. You okay? He asked. Yeah. What? He shrugged. You seem tired. I'm just busy with work. Don't kill yourself for that company, he muttered. Sophia walked over carrying wine glasses. Daniel, you staying for cake? I'd rather fight a bear. Lily gasped dramatically. That's rude. Daniel actually smiled at that. Happy birthday, kid. After cake and gifts, everyone slowly left. Ryan stayed behind to help clean up while I carried decorations toward the garage. You don't have to stay, I told him. Ryan shrugged. What kind of best friend leaves you alone with this mess? Sophia leaned against the counter. A smart one. Ryan laughed. That strange feeling returned. Small, sharp, ugly. I hated myself for even noticing it. Around 10 o'clock, I drove out to pick up Lily's real birthday present from the trunk because I had forgotten it earlier. It was a silver necklace with a tiny moon charm she'd been begging for. While driving back toward the house after filling the gas tank nearby, I realized the living room lights were still on. I smiled tiredly, probably Sophia and Ryan still cleaning. I grabbed the gift bag and walked toward the front door quietly. Then I heard whispers inside the kitchen. At first, I couldn't make out the words. Then Sophia said softly, "We can't keep doing this." My body froze instantly. Ryan answered in a low voice. You said that last week. I mean it this time. You don't mean anything when you look at me like that. Silence followed. I stepped closer without thinking. My heart started pounding so hard it physically hurt. Then Sophia spoke again. Ethan can't know. Every nerve in my body went cold. I looked through the small opening beside the kitchen wall. Ryan had his hands on her waist. Sophia's fingers were tangled in his shirt. Then he kissed her. Not quickly. Not accidentally. Like it had happened 100 times before. The gift bag slipped from my hand and hit the floor, but neither of them heard it. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. Every memory inside my head felt fake. Every laugh. Every kiss. Every promise. Ryan pulled back slightly and whispered, "You should have left him months ago." Sophia wiped tears from her face. "Stop. You love me." She didn't answer. That silence destroyed me more than anything else. I stared at them while my life collapsed in complete silence. I wanted to scream. I wanted to hit him. I wanted to ask her why. But my body stopped working completely. For a second, I thought I might die right there in my own house. Then Lily's laughter echoed faintly upstairs in her sleep. That sound broke whatever was left inside me. I stepped backward carefully, terrified they would notice me. Neither of them turned around. Neither of them even knew I was there. I walked out the front door like a ghost alone. The cold night air hit my face hard, but I still couldn't breathe. My chest felt hollow. I stood beside my car, staring at the dark street, while my hands shook uncontrollably. Everything I loved was still inside that house, but it didn't feel like home to me anymore. I barely remembered driving to the motel. One moment, I was standing outside my house, unable to breathe, and the next, I was sitting on the edge of a stained motel bed staring at the wall, while Sophia's name flashed across my phone again. And again. And again. 23 missed calls. 16 messages. Ryan had sent 11. I threw the phone beside me and pressed both hands against my face. The image wouldn't leave my head. His hands on her waist. Her voice whispering my name like I was the problem standing between them. I felt sick. My phone vibrated again. "Sophia." I answered before I could stop myself. "Ethan." Her voice cracked instantly. "Oh my God, where are you?" I stayed silent. "Please say something." What exactly should I say? "Please come home." I laughed bitterly. "Home? Ethan? No, don't call it that right now." I heard her crying softly. "It's not what you think," she whispered. I nearly threw the phone across the room. "I'll watch him kiss you in my kitchen." "It just happened. It just happened." I repeated. "That's your explanation?" "We never meant to hurt you." The words hit me harder than the affair itself. "We." Not I. "We." "How long?" I asked quietly. Silence. "Sophia." "A few weeks." Something inside me immediately knew she was lying. I closed my eyes. "You should have at least respected me enough to tell the truth." "I'm telling the truth." "No," I said. "You're telling me the version that hurts you the least." She started crying harder. "Please don't do this." "Do what?" "Leave." I stared at the dirty motel carpet for several seconds. "You already left first." Then I hung up. Ryan called immediately afterward. I declined it. Then another message appeared. "Bro, let me explain." I threw the phone onto the bed again. "Bro." The word made me physically angry. Around an hour later, someone knocked on the motel door. I ignored it. Another knock followed. "Ethan," Daniel's voice said. "Open the damn door." I slowly stood and unlocked it. My brother walked inside, looked at my face once, then quietly shut the door behind him. "You look terrible," he muttered. "Thanks." "What happened?" I sat back down heavily. "Sophia and Ryan." Daniel frowned. "What about them?" I couldn't even say the words at first. My throat felt tight. Then I finally whispered, "I caught them together." The room went completely silent. Daniel stared at me for several seconds. "Ryan." I nodded slowly. His jaw tightened instantly. "I'm going to kill him. You'll have to stand in line." Daniel sat beside me. "How long?" "She claims a few weeks." "And you believe that?" I shook my head. For the first time since leaving the house, my chest started hurting again. Daniel leaned forward with his elbows on his knees. "I always hated how that guy looked at your life," he muttered. "What does that mean?" "He acted like he was happy for you. But he wasn't. You never told me that. You loved him like a brother." I laughed painfully. "Yeah, that worked out well." Daniel stayed quiet for a moment before asking softly, "What are you going to do?" That question broke me completely. Because I didn't know. I covered my face with both hands and finally started crying. Not quietly. Not with dignity. I completely fell apart in front of him. I trusted them. I choked out. I trusted both of them. Daniel grabbed my shoulder tightly. "I know. I keep replaying it in my head. You don't deserve this." My daughter was upstairs sleeping while they... My voice cracked completely. Daniel pulled me into a rough hug while I struggled to breathe normally again. "They destroyed everything," I whispered. "No," he said firmly. "They destroyed themselves." The next morning, I woke up to another flood of messages. Most were from Sophia. Please come home. We need to talk. Lily keeps asking for you. I miss you. That last message made me angry. Around noon, an unknown number texted me. We need to talk privately. It's Olivia, Ryan's sister. I almost ignored it, but something told me not to. We met at a small coffee shop across town. Olivia looked nervous the second she saw me. You hate me right now, she said quietly. I don't even know what to feel anymore. She looked down at her coffee. I should have told you earlier. Cold dread filled my stomach. How long have you known? She hesitated. Olivia. Almost a year. I stared at her silently. A year. Sophia lied directly to my face without blinking. I'm sorry, Olivia whispered. Ryan swore he'd end it. I laughed bitterly. Apparently he forgot. There's more. I felt my chest tighten again. What now? Olivia looked genuinely ashamed. Ryan's been using your company connections. What are you talking about? He tells investors you support his side projects financially. I frowned. I never did. I know. But people believed him because of your reputation. Suddenly, dozens of strange business conversations from the past year started making sense. Ryan constantly asking about clients. Networking contacts disappearing. Private meetings he never explained. He used me. I whispered. Olivia nodded sadly. I'm so sorry. For the first time, the pain inside me slowly started changing shape. It wasn't just heartbreak anymore. It was humiliation, anger. I drove home, that evening feeling completely numb. Sophia opened the front door before I even reached it. Her eyes were swollen red. Ethan, please. How long? I interrupted. She froze. A year. I asked coldly. Her face lost color instantly. That was all the answer I needed. I can explain. No, I said quietly. You really can't. Then Lily suddenly appeared behind her holding a stuffed rabbit. Daddy. My entire expression softened immediately. She ran toward me and wrapped her arms around my waist. Why are you sleeping somewhere else? She asked innocently. I looked at Sophia, then back at my daughter. Mommy and I are having grown-up problems. Did you fight? A little. Lily looked up at me carefully. Are you leaving us? That question nearly destroyed me. I knelt in front of her and held her tiny hands. Listen to me very carefully, I whispered. Nothing in this world could ever make me leave you. Promise? I promise. Behind her, Sophia quietly started crying again. But I couldn't even look at her anymore. Because in that moment, I realized something terrifying. My marriage might already be dead, but my daughter still needed me alive. Sophia moved out 3 days later. Not permanently. At least that's what she said, while stuffing clothes into a suitcase without looking at me. I think space would help, she whispered. I sat at the dining table, staring at my coffee. Space didn't stop you before. She flinched. For a second, I almost felt guilty. Then I remembered Ryan touching her in my kitchen. Lily thinks you're staying with Grandma, I said. Sophia wiped her eyes. I know. She cried herself to sleep last night. I never wanted to hurt her. I finally looked at her. But hurting me was acceptable. Sophia opened her mouth, then closed it again. That silence answered everything. After she left, the house became unbearable. Every object carried a memory. The couch where Sophia used to sleep against my shoulder during movies. The kitchen where I caught them. Even the hallway smelled like her perfume. I stopped sleeping properly. Every night, I woke up gasping for air, replaying that moment in my head again and again. One night, I nearly collapsed in the bathroom because I couldn't breathe. My chest tightened so hard I thought I was dying. I gripped the sink while shaking violently. Calm down, I whispered to myself. Just breathe. But breathing felt impossible lately. At work, things got worse. I walked into the conference room Monday morning and immediately felt the tension. 3 executives sat waiting for me with expressions that already told me something was wrong. My boss, Richard, folded his hands slowly. Ethan, he said carefully, we need to discuss several contracts connected to Ryan Bennett. My stomach dropped instantly. What contracts? Richard slid a folder across the table. I opened it and immediately recognized my own signature at the bottom of several investment agreements. Except I had never signed them. What the hell is this? You tell me. Another executive snapped. Your friend promised partnerships using company connections. I never approved any of this. Richard studied my face quietly. Did Ryan forge your authorization? I couldn't even answer immediately, because deep down, I already knew the truth. Ryan had spent years learning how much people trusted me. Then he used my name like a weapon. I didn't know, I finally said. One executive scoffed. That's difficult to believe. Humiliation burned through my entire body. I wanted to punch something. Instead, I sat there feeling like an idiot while strangers questioned my integrity. After the meeting ended, Richard stopped me near the hallway. You should hire a lawyer, he said quietly. I'm not guilty. I know, he replied. But this situation is getting ugly. That afternoon, I met Claire Morgan for the first time. She walked in her office carrying coffee and a stack of files under one arm. You look exhausted, she said immediately. Nice to meet you too. I prefer honesty over fake politeness. She sat across from me and opened the folder. Ryan Bennett made several financial moves using your reputation. Some were technically legal. Some definitely weren't. I rubbed my forehead tiredly. Can this destroy my career? It depends. On what? Whether you keep acting like a victim or start protecting yourself. Her bluntness surprised me. Most people treated me carefully lately, like I might break apart if they used the wrong words. Claire didn't. I trusted him, I muttered. That explains the manipulation, she replied calmly. It doesn't excuse ignoring reality. I frowned. What's that supposed to mean? She leaned back slightly. You missed warning signs because you wanted your life to stay comfortable. The words hit hard because they were true. I remembered dozens of moments I ignored. Ryan asking overly personal questions about my finances. Sophia hiding her phone screen. Late-night work meetings. Tiny lies I convinced myself didn't matter. Because perfect lives weren't supposed to crack. You think this is my fault? I asked quietly. No, Claire said firmly. But pretending you saw nothing won't help you survive this. For the first time in weeks, someone spoke to me like a grown man instead of a wounded animal. Oddly, it helped. That evening, I picked Lily up from school. She climbed into the car, quietly hugging her backpack. You okay, Peanut? I asked. She nodded weakly. I drove a few blocks before she finally whispered, Did Mommy stop loving us? The question nearly shattered me. No, I answered carefully. Adults just make bad decisions sometimes. Can families break forever? I gripped the steering wheel tighter. I hope not. You look sad all the time now. I forced a small smile. I'm working on it. Lily looked down at her shoes. I heard Mommy crying on the phone. I stayed silent. She said she made a huge mistake. A painful laugh almost escaped my throat. Huge mistake. Like she forgot groceries at the store instead of destroying our family. Daddy? Yeah. If people love each other, why do they hurt each other? I had no answer for that. Not anymore. That night, after Lily fell asleep, I sat alone in the kitchen staring at my wedding ring. 10 years. 10 years reduced to a piece of metal that suddenly felt meaningless. My phone buzzed again. Sophia. I ignored it. Then another message appeared. Please talk to me. I stared at the words for several seconds before locking the screen. For the first time since everything collapsed, I finally understood something clearly. The man I used to be, the trusting husband, the loyal friend, the idiot who believed love alone could protect a family, was already gone. Slowly, I pulled the wedding ring from my finger. The pale mark underneath looked strange, like evidence of someone who no longer existed. I placed the ring carefully on the kitchen table and whispered the truth I had been avoiding for days. My old life is over. Sophia moved into Ryan's apartment 2 weeks later. I only found out because Lily mentioned it accidentally while eating cereal before school. Mommy says Ryan burns pancakes worse than you, she said. I paused with my coffee halfway to my mouth. Oh, Lily looked up carefully. Are you mad? No, Peanut. That surprised me because it was true. I wasn't angry anymore. Not in the explosive way I used to be. The pain was still there, but it had become quieter, colder, like a scar instead of an open wound. After dropping Lily at school, I went straight to the gym. 3 months ago, I barely had energy to get out of bed. Now I ran until my lungs burned. Not because I wanted revenge, because I needed control over something again. Later that afternoon, Claire walked into my office carrying another folder. You're starting to look human again, she said. I think that's supposed to be a compliment. It is. She sat across from me and opened the file. We found more forged documents. I leaned forward immediately. How bad? Bad enough that Ryan's investors are panicking. A dark satisfaction moved quietly through me. Claire slid papers toward me. These signatures were copied from old partnership agreements. I studied them carefully. He really thought he'd get away with this. People like Ryan usually believe rules apply to everyone except themselves. I looked up at her. You really hate him. I hate manipulators, she replied calmly. That evening, Ryan finally called me directly. I stared at the phone for several seconds before answering. What? Ethan, he said quickly. Listen to me before you hang up. You've got 30 seconds. You're making this situation worse than it needs to be. I almost laughed. You slept with my wife and forged business contracts using my name. It wasn't like that. How exactly was it? Ryan sighed loudly. Sophia, and I didn't plan this. You planned the financial fraud pretty carefully. Silence. Then his voice hardened slightly. You're trying to destroy me. No, I replied calmly. You're finally facing consequences. You think you're innocent in all this? That sentence genuinely shocked me. I trusted you. You ignored your marriage for years, Ryan snapped. Sophia was lonely. My grip tightened around the phone. She was lonely, so your solution was betraying me? You don't understand what things were like between you two. No, I said coldly. I understand perfectly now. Then I hung up. For the first time, the conversation didn't leave me shaking. Instead, I felt strangely calm. Like Ryan's excuses had finally killed the last emotional connection between us. 2 days later, Sophia appeared at my house unexpectedly while Lily was upstairs. She looked exhausted. Dark circles sat under her eyes, and her voice sounded weak. Can we talk? I stepped aside silently. She sat at the kitchen table, staring down at her hands. How's Ryan? I asked flatly. Sophia gave a humorless laugh. Paranoid. What does that mean? He thinks everyone is against him now. Interesting. She looked at me carefully. You've changed. I had to. A painful silence settled between us. Then Sophia whispered, I don't think he ever really loved me. I leaned back slowly. What made you realize that? He gets angry constantly. Every conversation becomes about money or blame. I said nothing. Sophia wiped her eyes. Last night, I found messages on his phone. My chest stayed completely still. What kind of messages? She laughed bitterly. The same kind you found between us. For a second, she looked completely broken. He was seeing another woman while he was with me, she whispered. The irony was so brutal, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Sophia stared at the kitchen counter. Do you know what hurts the most? What? I became the exact kind of person I used to hate. I looked at her for a long moment before answering quietly. Now you know how it feels. Tears rolled down her face instantly. I deserve that. Yes, I said honestly. You do. Upstairs, Lily's footsteps suddenly echoed across the hallway. Sophia quickly wiped her face before Lily ran into the kitchen. Mom. Sophia smiled immediately. Hey, baby. Lily hugged her tightly, but after a few seconds, she ran back toward me. Dad, can we still go to the arcade later? Of course. Sophia watched Lily lean comfortably against my side. Something painful crossed her face. For the first time, she looked like someone realizing exactly what she destroyed. That night, Daniel came over carrying pizza. You look better, he admitted while sitting down. I feel better. That's new. I shrugged slightly. I'm tired of suffering for people who didn't suffer while hurting me. Daniel smirked faintly. There's my brother. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Claire. Ryan's investors are pulling out. More complaints coming tomorrow. I stared at the screen quietly. Months ago, I would have celebrated. Now I mostly felt empty. Daniel noticed my expression. You okay? Yeah. You don't sound convinced. I looked toward the hallway where Lily's laughter echoed from her room. I spent so much time wanting revenge, I admitted softly. But honestly, watching them destroy themselves is enough. Daniel nodded slowly. That's because you're finally healing. Later that night, I tucked Lily into bed. Daddy, yeah, Peanut. You smile more now. The comment surprised me. Do I? She nodded sleepily. Not like before. Different. I brushed hair from her forehead gently. Is different bad? No, she whispered. Different feels safer. After she fell asleep, I sat alone in the living room thinking about those words. Safer. That was the first time in months someone connected me with peace instead of pain. Outside, rain tapped softly against the windows. Inside, the silence no longer felt unbearable. And somewhere across the city, Sophia and Ryan were finally drowning inside the lies they created together. Ryan's downfall became public 3 weeks later. I was sitting inside Claire's office reviewing paperwork when she slid her phone toward me. Look, a business article filled the screen. Financial investigation targets local investor Ryan Bennett. I stared at the headline quietly. Claire crossed her arms. 3 former partners filed complaints this morning. What kind of complaints? Fraud, forged authorization, misuse of investor funds. A slow breath escaped my chest. So it's really happening. Claire nodded. People protect confidence until money disappears. I leaned back in my chair, expecting satisfaction. Instead, I mostly felt tired. Am I horrible for not feeling bad for him? I asked. No, Claire replied instantly. You're finally accepting reality. She handed me another folder. We also found proof Sophia knew more than she claimed. That got my attention immediately. What proof? Emails. My stomach tightened slightly. Claire opened the file carefully. Ryan discussed transferring funds through your business contacts. Sophia responded multiple times. I scanned the messages silently. Be careful. Ethan's starting to notice weird things. That sentence felt like a knife sliding slowly into my chest. She lied again. I muttered. Claire studied me quietly. Does it still surprise you? No. That was the terrifying part. Nothing shocked me anymore. Later that afternoon, Daniel called me while I was driving home. You seen the news yet? He asked immediately. Yeah. He's getting destroyed online. I stopped at a red light. People usually turn against you quickly when money disappears. Daniel laughed darkly. Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. I stayed silent. Then Daniel's tone softened slightly. You okay? Honestly, I admitted. I thought revenge would feel bigger. What does it feel like? I watched rain slide slowly across my windshield. Like watching strangers clean up a mess Ryan created himself. That evening, Sophia called unexpectedly. I almost ignored it before answering. What? Her breathing sounded shaky. Ryan and I had a fight. I closed my eyes tiredly. Sophia. He blamed me for everything. That must have been difficult. I'm serious. So am I. Silence followed. Then her voice cracked. You don't care anymore. The words hung heavily between us. I finally answered honestly. I care that you're Lily's mother. That's not what I meant. I gripped the phone tighter. Months ago, hearing her cry would have destroyed me. Now it mostly made me sad. Not because I wanted her back, because I remembered the version of us that used to exist. I have to go, I said quietly. Ethan, please. I ended the call gently before she could continue. The next morning, Richard called me in his office. You free to travel next month? He asked. I frowned. Why? He slid a project file across his desk. My eyes widened instantly. New York. Luxury skyline redevelopment project. One of the biggest opportunities our company had received in years. We want you leading it, Richard said. I looked up slowly. After everything that happened? You survived everything that happened, he corrected. For the first time in months, something inside me felt hopeful again. Not excited, not healed, but hopeful. That night, I met Claire for dinner to discuss the project. You're smiling, she observed while opening her menu. That obvious? Painfully obvious. I laughed quietly. The sound surprised both of us. Claire leaned back slightly. New York looks good on you already. I haven't even accepted yet. You will. I studied her carefully for a moment. You always sound certain. Someone has to. The waitress walked away after taking our order. Then Claire looked directly at me. You know something? She asked. What? You're different now. I smirked faintly. Everyone keeps saying that. Because it's true. You stopped apologizing for existing. Her words stayed in my head longer than they should have. After dinner, we stood outside the restaurant while cold wind moved through the street. Claire shoved her hands into her coat pockets. You still afraid to trust people? She asked quietly. Yes. At least you're honest. I looked at her carefully. Does honesty ever actually protect anyone? No, she admitted. But lies destroy them eventually. For a second, neither of us spoke. Then Claire smiled softly. Go home, Ethan. What if I don't want to? Then you're emotionally compromised. I laughed again, a real laugh this time. And somehow, that scared me more than sadness ever did. 2 nights later, someone knocked on my front door after Lily fell asleep. I opened it and froze. Sophia stood there alone in the cold wearing a long gray coat. Her eyes looked swollen from crying. Can I come in? Part of me wanted to refuse, but I stepped aside silently. Sophia sat on the couch while twisting her fingers nervously. I left Ryan, she whispered. I nodded once. Okay. She stared at me in disbelief. That's it. What response were you expecting? I don't know. I remained standing across from her. Sophia looked around the living room slowly. Our family used to feel warm, she whispered. I said nothing. Tears rolled down her cheeks. I destroyed the best thing in my life. Those words sounded painfully genuine. But genuine regret came too late sometimes. Sophia covered her face briefly before whispering, I know, I don't deserve another chance. You're right. She flinched hard. But I'm asking anyway. I looked at her quietly for several seconds. Then I finally spoke the truth she needed to hear. I forgive you. Sophia's eyes filled instantly with hope. Until I continued. But forgiveness doesn't erase consequences. Her expression shattered completely. I love you, she whispered desperately. I shook my head slowly. No, I replied calmly. You love the comfort of being loved. Sophia started crying harder. I miss you. That's different. She stared at me like she was finally seeing a stranger. And maybe she was, because the man who once would have begged her to stay no longer existed. Sophia stood slowly and wiped her face. So, this is really over? I looked toward Lily's bedroom upstairs before answering softly. And into the night, you chose him. Sophia broke down completely after hearing that. But for the first time, her pain didn't pull me toward her. It only confirmed something I already understood. She no longer belonged in my future. And somehow, neither did the pain she left behind. 3 months after leaving home, I barely recognized my old life anymore. My apartment finally looked lived in. I slept better, worked harder, smiled occasionally. But every time I saw Lily, the pain returned. One Saturday morning, she sat beside me in the park, eating ice cream quietly. Mom cries a lot now, she whispered. My chest tightened. What do you say when she cries? I hug her. I look down at her small hands. You shouldn't have to fix grown-up problems. She stared at me carefully. Are you still mad at Mom? I hesitated. I'm hurt. That means yes. I almost smiled sadly. You're too smart. Lily leaned against my arm. I miss us together. Those words destroyed me more than anything Sophia ever said. A week later, Sophia came to my apartment unexpectedly. She looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, shaking hands. You look sick, I said quietly. I haven't been sleeping. I stepped aside, silently, so she could enter. She sat on the couch nervously while I stayed standing. What happened? Sophia stared at the floor. Victor's being investigated. I folded my arms. Because of the leaked files? Yes. You participated in corporate fraud, Sophia. I know. Why? She wiped tears from her eyes immediately. Because Victor manipulated me for years. I frowned. What does that mean? He controlled everything at work, she whispered. He made me feel trapped. That still doesn't explain Daniel. Sophia looked ashamed instantly. Daniel used my guilt against me. I stared at her quietly. He kept reminding me that one confession would destroy Lily's life, she continued. Every time I wanted to tell you the truth, he talked me out of it. And you listened. Yes. The room became painfully silent. Sophia looked up at me desperately. I know I failed you. I shook my head slowly. You didn't fail me once. You failed me every single day. Tears rolled down her face again. I still love you. The words didn't hit me the same way anymore. Maybe because love without trust sounded empty now. I believe you, I admitted quietly. Sophia looked shocked. But it doesn't matter anymore. Her face crumbled instantly. That evening, Lily called me crying. Mom and Daniel were yelling. I sat upright immediately. What? He came to the house. Are you okay? Yes. Where's Mom now? In her room. I closed my eyes tiredly. Listen to me carefully, I said softly. None of this is your fault. I know, but she didn't sound convinced. After the call ended, I drove straight to the house. Sophia opened the door looking panicked. What are you doing here? I came for Lily. She's asleep now. I walked inside anyway. Daniel came here? Sophia looked disgusted immediately. He wanted money. I laughed bitterly. Of course he did. He's desperate. Good. Sophia stared at me carefully. You really hate him now. He destroyed my life. No, she whispered painfully. We destroyed it. That word stayed inside my head all night. We, not just her, not just Daniel. The entire lie destroyed everything together. A few days later, Claire called me into her office. You still haven't taken the second DNA test, she said. I know. You need certainty. I rubbed my forehead slowly. What if the answer destroys me either way? Claire looked calm as always. You're already destroyed by uncertainty. She was right. 2 days later, I sat inside a medical office feeling physically sick while they drew my blood. The nurse smiled politely. Results should come quickly. Nothing about this felt quick to me. Waiting for those results became torture. Every possibility haunted me. If Lily wasn't mine, I'd lose part of myself forever. If she was mine, then Sophia destroyed our family for nothing. Neither answer felt survivable. 3 days later, Claire called. The results arrived. I drove to her office in complete silence. Claire handed me the folder carefully. You should sit. My hand shook while opening the papers. Then I saw the words. Probability of paternity, 99.99%. Lily was mine. Biologically mine. For a second, I couldn't breathe. Relief hit first. Then grief hit harder. I covered my face with trembling hands. Oh God. Claire stayed quiet. She's my daughter, I whispered brokenly. Yes. I laughed painfully through tears. All this destruction. My voice cracked completely. For nothing. That evening, I went to Sophia's house. She opened the door nervously. What happened? I handed her the results silently. Sophia read them once, then twice. Suddenly she collapsed into tears so hard she could barely stand. She's yours, she cried. I looked away. She was always mine. Sophia covered her mouth desperately. I ruined everything. I didn't answer. Ethan, you lied for years when the truth could have saved us. I was scared. And now? Sophia cried harder. Now I know fear cost me everything. For the first time since leaving home, I actually believed her. Not because she deserved forgiveness, but because she finally sounded honest. Days later, Daniel's company officially collapsed after fraud investigations became public. News articles spread everywhere. Victor was arrested during an internal company investigation. One disaster after another. Karma moved faster than I expected. A week later, Sophia asked to meet me at the park where we used to bring Lily. The sunset looked painfully familiar. Sophia sat beside me quietly on the bench. Do you think we'll ever become a family again? She whispered. I stared ahead silently for several seconds. Then I finally answered honestly. You lost me long before the truth came out. Sophia broke completely beside me. She cried silently while staring at the ground. And after a long moment, I stood up and walked away without looking back. 1 year later, my life barely resembled the one I lost. And strangely, that no longer scared me. I stood inside my New York office, staring out at the skyline, while Lily spun slowly in my chair behind me. Dad, she announced dramatically, I'm officially bored. I smiled without turning around. That took longer than usual. You've been working forever. It's called being responsible. It's called child neglect. I laughed quietly and finally turned toward her. At 9 years old, Lily looked lighter now. Not completely healed, but happy again. That mattered more than anything else. You ready for your school event tonight? I asked. She grinned instantly. You promised not to cry this time. No promises. My phone buzzed against the desk. Claire, dinner later? A year ago, seeing someone new message me would have filled me with anxiety. Now it simply felt peaceful. I replied quickly, only if you stop insulting my coffee choices. Her answer came immediately. Impossible. Lily narrowed her eyes suspiciously. That's Claire, isn't it? You're too observant. She makes you smile weird. I don't smile weird. You absolutely do. I shook my head while grabbing my jacket. Come on, troublemaker. As we walked toward the elevator, I caught my reflection briefly in the glass. For the first time in years, I recognized the man staring back at me. Not because life became perfect again, because I finally stopped pretending perfection existed. That evening, Lily's school auditorium buzzed with noise and excited parents. I sat near the front row while Lily nervously adjusted her costume backstage. You okay? I asked. She forgot part of her speech. Another parent whispered beside me. I turned and froze slightly. Sophia stood there quietly holding a folded program. Tom had changed her. Not physically, emotionally. Loneliness sat visibly inside her eyes now. Hi, Ethan, she said softly. Hi. An awkward silence followed. Then Sophia looked toward the stage. Lily seems happier. She is. I'm glad. And strangely, I believe she meant it. The event started moments later. Lily walked onto the stage wearing a bright blue outfit and immediately spotted me in the crowd. Then she spotted Sophia too. For a second, uncertainty crossed her face. I smiled gently and gave her a thumbs up. Sophia did the same. Lily finally smiled back before beginning her speech. As I watched my daughter speak confidently under the lights, something painful and beautiful hit me at once. A year ago, I thought losing my marriage meant losing my future. But my future had been sitting right in front of me the entire time. After the performance ended, parents crowded the hallways congratulating their kids. Lily ran straight toward me first. Did I mess up? She asked nervously. You were amazing. She hugged me tightly before turning toward Sophia. Sophia smiled carefully. You did really well, sweetheart. Thanks, Mom. There was kindness in Lily's voice. But distance, too. Sophia noticed it immediately and accepted it quietly. A few minutes later, Lily ran off to talk with friends near the snack tables. Sophia and I stood alone near the hallway wall. Neither of us spoke at first. Then Sophia finally whispered, Ryan got sentenced last month. I nodded once. I already knew. Financial fraud, probation, public disgrace. The man who once thought he could manipulate everyone now lived alone in a tiny apartment while avoiding former friends who no longer answered his calls. How do you feel about it? Sophia asked carefully. I thought about the question honestly. I don't know, I admitted. I don't hate him anymore. Sophia looked surprised. I used to think revenge would heal me. I continued quietly. But broken people usually destroy themselves eventually. Sophia lowered her eyes. I destroyed myself too. The sadness in her voice sounded real. Not manipulative. Not defensive. Just honest. And somehow, that honesty hurt more than excuses ever did. I owe you an apology, she whispered. I stayed silent. Sophia took a shaky breath. Not the kind filled with explanations. Not the kind where I blame loneliness or confusion or unhappiness. For the first time since our marriage collapsed, she looked directly into my eyes without hiding. I betrayed you, she said quietly. I betrayed our family, and you didn't deserve any of it. Emotion tightened painfully inside my chest. Not because I wanted her back, because those were the words I spent a year waiting to hear. I'm sorry, Ethan. I looked at her for a long moment. Then I nodded slowly. I accept your apology. Tears immediately filled her eyes. But before hope could grow there, I spoke again gently. The man who loved you disappeared the night I found you with Ryan. Sophia closed her eyes like the words physically hurt. I know, she whispered. For a second, neither of us moved. Then she laughed weakly through tears. You know what's funny? What? I spent so much time chasing excitement that I destroyed the only thing that ever felt safe. I didn't answer, because there was nothing left to say. Sophia wiped her face carefully and looked toward Lily laughing with her classmates. She's closer to you now. She trusts me. The sentence wasn't cruel, but it still wounded her deeply. I'm glad she has you, Sophia whispered, as she surprised me by stepping back instead of closer. No begging, no manipulation, just acceptance. Goodbye, Ethan. I watched her walk slowly toward the exit alone, and for the first time, I felt absolutely no anger watching her leave. Only closure. A warm hand suddenly slipped into mine. I looked down. Lily smiled up at me. Can we get pizza now? I laughed softly. Absolutely. As we walked outside together, I spotted Claire waiting beside her car across the street. Lily waved excitedly. Claire. Claire smiled immediately. Hey, kid. The cold evening air moved around us gently, while city lights reflected across the wet pavement. I stood there holding Lily's hand while Claire walked toward us. And suddenly, everything became painfully clear. Losing Sophia destroyed the life I thought I wanted, but it also forced me to face truths I spent years avoiding. I wasn't healed because karma punished the people who hurt me. I was healed because I finally stopped building my happiness around people afraid to love honestly. Pain didn't ruin me. It revealed me. And standing there beside my daughter, with a future no longer controlled by fear, I finally understood something impossible a year ago. Losing everything was the only reason I finally found myself.